Hey guys, welcome out to the shop today. Picked up a small engine, a little generator. Popped up on Facebook and it had only been on there for about 18 minutes and I was able to snatch it up. It is a Coleman PowerMate, Coleman Maxa 5000 ER Plus. It's got the 120 and 220 hookups. 5,000 watt rated, and still has fuel sitting in it, but the fuel does not smell that bad. But the guy, he had used it about 2 years ago for half a day and said that he shut it off and just went and bought another generator because he couldn't get this one restarted. The fuel shut off, which is right up under here somewhere on the other side. It is still open, so there should be fuel still sitting in the carburetor, and that would be right here. So we're gonna go ahead and shut the fuel off, possibly switch out this actually does look dark right here, like the fuel that's sitting inside there. You can see that it's a little bit dark, so we'll probably drain everything out of these lines, clean up the carburetor, check on the air filter, and see if we can get this guy to run. Yeah, so let's get to it. I'm gonna try to crank it over real quick a couple times. If that doesn't work, I'm just gonna go ahead and move right on to the carburetor cleaning. Usually that is a suspect right away. This is nice though, it's got the 5-gallon tank on top. So this is a pretty heavy duty, a bigger one. I've only got 4,000 watt generators, so this one's a little bit bigger. Alright, so we've got the thing into run position. We've got the choke on. Double check to make sure the fuel is open. And it is. And then I think that's all that we have to do. Yeah, so that's all we got to do for starting it. Let's go ahead and try to get it going. So that's not running at all. First thing I'm going to do is crack the fuel bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and crack this open right here. Check and see if we even have fuel going into the bowl. See what kind of fuel we got there. If we have fuel just sitting in here, that means that the carburetor is kind of gunked up, and then we'll clean that up real quick. Okay, so that needle, I would be expecting it to have fuel coming out of there, and we don't have any fuel coming into the float bowl. So that means that we must be clogged with the needle that's actually in there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the whole entire bowl off. I think we need a 10mm wrench to get that off, and we'll go ahead and look at that. Nope. Not 10mm, 7/16. So I don't usually work on this brand of engines. Usually it's only like Briggs & Stratton that I work on. So this is different. I also don't know if I have any replacement parts for this, unless they're like interchangeable. So we're gonna try not to break anything. Do have the fuel shut off. I do have my parts cleaner going as well right now because it needs to heat up, and I'm pretty sure something's going to be gunked up in here. Homeowner uses like regular E87 fuel you put in your car, and I found over time, look at that's dirty. I found over time that that kind of fuel does that. Ooh, look at all that powder. That's not good. That's why we don't have any fuel, because there's no fuel coming into it. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started on cleaning up the carburetor, get it taken off, and we'll see how dirty it is once I get flipped up. All right, air filter is off, and then we gotta take off these two screws that bolt to the front of the carburetor, or the exiting side or incoming side, the air part. We'll get that taken off, and then we should be able to unbolt the actual carburetor from the rest of the machine. There we go. And then it looks like two screws on this side, and remove this linkage from right here. So we gotta fiddle with that to get that off. That should be easy though. We'll take that off, and then we should be able to take these off, and this whole thing will come right off. Alright guys, so we got the carburetor off, and it looks like absolute junk. I mean, it is terrible. The needle is stuck in there. And you can see all the corrosion and everything else built up inside. And you can see that the little pin is like just about to fall out anyway. So the pin was about to fall out. I ended up just pulling the whole thing off. Look at that around the needle. It is just solid junk just built up all around it. So we're gonna go ahead and clean this off, clean it up. Gotta get everything just gone through. So this is what the needle looks like. Look at all the varnish that's on it, and that's why it was stuck. So you're going to throw this into the parts cleaner, and then everything should fire up with no problem. Alright, so there is the carb cleaned up. Let it sit in a ultrasonic cleaner for about 10 minutes. So that cleaned up, and then the float cleaned up. And there's everything else in the bowl. The bowl has a little bit of varnish still in it, but it's not coming out, so we're just gonna leave that. Everything else did clean up. So we're gonna go ahead and get it, put it back together, and then get it mounted back up and see if it'll fire over. Alright, so you guys can kind of see the needle hanging down there, and that's how it should be working, is that whenever the float comes up, it closes off the seat, and when the float comes back down, it lets it fill up. And as you guys can see, it's working now. Before, it was stuck up in the hole to where it wasn't coming out at all. Alright guys, so I have a lot of confidence that this is going to work just because of you know, the past. I know what's been going on with different things, and have a good feeling that the only thing that's going to be wrong with this was the carburetor being dirty. As I've showed you guys, that it was really in poor condition. Had a lot of just general buildup in it from all the varnish and the gasoline sitting. So I'm going to go ahead and put the air filter on. Usually I don't do it right away. Usually try to fire it off one good time. But not today. We're going to try to just send it and then tune it. Because this one's got different... that valve I took out of the bottom, it needs to be set. And the air filter, it looks still okay. It doesn't look dirty. I bet this thing hasn't really even been used that much. Alright, so we're going to turn the gas on. Make sure that we don't have any leaks coming out of anywhere. And then we will try to fire it over again. See if we got any fuel dripping out of there. I know the float is loose in there, so I'm not worried about that. Alright, so one thing that I can do is take the bowl off and see if fluid just comes out of there with the gas on. And if it does, that means our bowl is full. And then we can start looking at the spark plug, making sure that we got good spark on that. Alright, so I'm just taking this part off. Alright, so the float is moving. I'm getting a little bit of fuel coming through there, but the float. All right, so right now we should have fuel just pouring out onto the floor, and we don't. So that means that we have a clog either in our fuel line or something else is going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and in my next step of troubleshooting this, I did not take the fuel filter and change it out. So right now I'm gonna turn the fuel back off. So I'm turning that all the way to the right, and I'm gonna separate the hose line right here. I'm gonna take that, break that loose. We're gonna try to get this fuel line taken off of here. Alright, so I got fuel just sitting in the hose. And if I open up the fuel line, let's see what happens. Nothing. I got this wide open. Alright, so let's go ahead and take off the fuel filter, and we'll see if we get fuel coming out of the line at that point. If we got fuel pouring out of the line after we take the filter off, we know the filter was trash, clogged up, varnished up. Alright, so let's go ahead, turn on the fuel. Oh man, we don't have anything coming out of there. We should be pouring fuel out. Let me make sure that there's enough fuel in there. I know there's fuel in the tank, but maybe we just don't have enough. Maybe it's just a rookie mistake. Alright guys, so I took the fuel filter off, still didn't have any fuel. And I opened up the valve all the way, still didn't have any fuel. I believe there's like junk up in the on-off valve right here where the fuel is. And whenever I blew some air up in there, and whenever I did, it just started pouring fuel out. So there's just junk in the fuel. And so right now I'm turning it back on to fill up the line. So I see the filter filled back up. I don't see any leaks out here, so that's good. So now I'm almost 100% positive that we're going to be able to get this thing running with no more issues. I'm going to end up draining out the tank and replacing the filter to some non-ethanol fuel. Let's see if it'll crank over though. Choke is on. Cross your fingers. No, I'm just playing. It should work now. so we know that it fires over. More than likely, it's just got a bunch of junk in there and the fuel is going to be an issue. I'm going to go ahead and get the fuel drained out, and then we should be able to clean up the fuel tank because that is probably nasty inside. So we're going to clean that out. Yeah, let me try to get this running one more time. Choke. Maybe, I think I might have this upside down. I'm almost positive I have this upside down because I wasn't able to get the choke all the way off. That would be an issue. Let me flip this around real quick. I think I've used up all my fuel. Alright guys, so I've been struggling trying to get this thing to even idle correctly. It'll idle for like a minute and then it starts bogging down and just shuts off. So I went back through the needle that's on the bottom. I ended up finding one small hole on it that I missed the first time. And it did have junk in it. So I reinstalled that, bottomed it out, and then removed it or unbacked it out 1.5 turns. The mixture needle right here, I've bottomed out and then backed out 1 full turn. And then everything else has remained the same. There was some gunk on this needle right here. But I took my carb kit right here, put the little thread rod through it, and then brushed on it, and then blew it back out. So hopefully it's clean now. I'm going to try restart it again. If this isn't going to fix it, I'm going to go ahead and look at ordering a carb rebuild kit. They're like $10 or $15 on Amazon, and it's like a waste of time to keep on trying to mess with it. If like the previous owner damaged one of these, because this was bottomed all the way out whenever I was first trying to start it. When you go to remove them, you always turn them all the way in, count how many turns you have, and then you back them out to the same position. This was almost all the way bottomed out already, so I don't know if they accidentally did that or if they messed with it. So we're gonna go ahead, put the air filter back on one more time, and then try to start it up. It does run and idle for like I said, 30-40 seconds, and it starts bogging down. So let's see what's gonna happen on this run. All right, so we've gotten all of our needles adjusted. Gonna turn the choke on. Fuel is on again. Let's go ahead and see if it'll fire over. Alright, so that's what it does, and then it's done. That could be a fuel issue still. We may be still not getting enough fuel in it because it idles just fine. It just acts like it's running out of fuel. So I'm going to go ahead and order a carb rebuild kit, and that'll come with the needle seat, the O-ring, the two valves that I'm talking about adjusting on the bottom of the float bowl, and the air mixture valve. To me, that's almost acting like the float bowl is full and then it's getting emptied out and not able to replenish in time. So that's probably what it is. The seat is probably just dirty in there. and I don't have any of those that I can think of right now. I may take it back apart and look again, but I think I don't have any needles and seats for the Tecumseh engines. Alright guys, it's been a couple days since I've been working on this generator. Instead of keeping on fooling around with it and just trying to clean it and stuff like that, I went ahead and just bought a carburetor kit. I thought it was just going to be the carburetor and the gasket, and then when it arrived, the carburetor box had a spark plug, a filter, and a shutoff as well. The shutoff I cannot use on this because of it's in the tank, but I'll just keep that anyway. And then it's got a new filter, or the air filter. So that's perfect. I can go ahead and change the spark plug that is right down in there and get a new plug in there. And then we were talking about replacing the filter anyway, so that's good that it came with that. And then obviously we're gonna get rid of this carburetor. I'll probably end up keeping it, of course, and then if I ever have another part or anything like that I can use it on, it'll be there. Alright guys, so here is the old one, here is the new one. There are a couple differences, like the bottom, it has the valve on the bottom that could be adjusted. The screw on the side right there, that could be adjusted on the old one. The new one does not have that. And then it has the port right here and here, but then I have this extra valve or extra port right here that the old one didn't have. So I don't think that should be an issue. I can just leave that off anyway because the air cleaner goes right to it. I can always block it off if need be, if I have to, but we're gonna try to put it on just as it is and see what happens first. So we're gonna go ahead, and we got the choke on, and we're gonna go ahead and open up the gas and then fire it over and see what actually happens with it. Alright, so the first thing I'm looking for is any fuel leaks. I see fuel in the filter, so that is good. I don't see any leaks anywhere though, so that's also very good. Now let's go ahead and try to turn it over and see what happens. Alright guys, so as you can see here, the generator did run. I ran for about 5 minutes, and over here on the